Mulgrew Miller here, sitting in the living room of Brethren Primack. After enjoying a day and an outing in the hills and the mountains.
Stand up for a second, my friend.
Okay.
Okay, try that. Yes, that's what we need.
Sitting here,
Much better.
resting my bones
That's it.
and this loneliness won't leave me.
That's it. So I'm going to ask you about some of our comrades first, and then
Okay.
talk to you about yourself. Let's talk about John Hicks for a moment. What was it about John Hicks and his music that was so unique?
Well, John Hicks was one of the essential and vital musicians on the New York jazz scene, and he had that spiritual thing, if you will, in his playing that lit up a bandstand. You know, John was an exciting player, yet skillful, a brilliant accompanist, a brilliant soloist, and when I think about John Hicks, I think about a person that just had a great spirit in his playing. And I think that's why he had so many fans and was loved by so many people. You know, that John really could light up a bandstand, you know. And John was a beautiful human being. And I feel a special kind of closeness to John the person and the pianist, because I followed him in Betty Carter's trio, and I had to take notes from John to really learn how to do that. You know, so when I got the gig with Betty Carter, I had to listen to a lot of tapes with John Hicks, you know, and he was such a great contributor to much of the music that has been played around New York, in particular, in the last 30, maybe 40 years. And his presence was so dynamic in so many bands and so many bandstands, on so many bandstands. And I just think he was a dynamite performer.
Yeah. That pretty much covers it. Let me just explore one other side of it. John Hicks was a couple generations above you. He, in addition to Betty Carter, he's also played with Art Blakey.
Absolutely.
So you guys traveled along the same roads.
Yeah.
In the tradition of sharing that goes on in this music, and people sharing their knowledge and working with other people who are still learning the music, did you see him as like a teacher, so to speak?
Well, I didn't personally have that kind of relationship with John. Fortunately, I was a very, very busy young piano player on the scene, and John was a very, very busy, established veteran piano player. And although, as you say, we traveled along the same highway, the same path, I didn't have much of a social relationship with John, as perhaps I would like to have had. But John was a teacher when he played. Absolutely, I was inspired, and I learned a lot from listening to John and many other pianists who were established in New York and playing in so many bands.
Okay. We don't have to talk about these other cats, but I'm going to mention them if you would like to say a few words. One would be Horace Silver.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be doing one of my tribute things to Horace Silver. He was one of the first people that I got into in this music. That record, Cape Verdean Blues, was my teenage introduction to so many things, especially Woody Shaw and Joe Henderson. I mean, I was just.
Right.
But this, you're talking about the spirit of the music and Horace's unique voice. What do you think about it is about Horace's playing that draws us into it?
Well, it's funny you should mention the Cape Verdean album. That was the first record I heard of Horace's. And when I first heard Woody Shaw and Joe Henderson, well, I think as everyone knows, you know, Horace had that earthy kind of thing that touched you where you live, you know, that kind of bluesy earthiness, funkiness, as it was called. You know, he just reached you at the core, you know. That being said, I personally feel that it's the whole funky bluesy thing has been, well, maybe if not overstated, but certainly stated enough. But what has been understated and underwritten about Horace is what a thinker he is. You know, he wasn't just a bebop piano player that played funky. Horace was a real imaginative and inventive improviser, you know, and still is. And I think that hasn't been noted enough in the reviews and critiques and things that I've read about Horace over the years. You know, a brilliant thinking improviser, and of course a huge influence over a whole generation of piano players.
And his compositions too.
Oh yeah, well, you know, Horace's compositions have been the vehicles for many great solos, and recorded widespread by all kinds of musicians, jazz and otherwise.
Yeah. And the other one is Walter Bishop. Do you want to say anything about Bish?
Yeah, when I first moved to New York, it's kind of a funny story, really. I can't remember exactly how I was introduced to Walter, but we were introduced, and we talked over the telephone. And Walter invited me over to his apartment one day. And I was so excited because I was looking forward to hanging out with Walter Bishop Jr. And I thought, well, I'll get there and Walter's going to show me all of these great things about bebop and this, that, and the other, you know. Well, I got to Walter's house, and he just wanted me to play piano, and he played drums. So we had a jam session with me playing piano, and he played drums all afternoon. You know, so we became fast friends from that meeting on, you know. And I didn't see Walter a whole lot during those years, so again, I didn't get as close to Walter personally as I would like to have. But we saw each other from time to time here and there and talked, and I always dug Walter. You know, I dug the things that he was thinking about with the intervalistic concepts and the different books he was writing, and we both shared an interest in the writings of Paramahansa Yogananda, and we related on that level.
I forgot he was into that.
Yeah.
That's right. You know, when Walter Bishop was young man, he used to carry a picture of Bud Powell in his wallet.
Is that right? Wow.
And Bud was his man. I mean, he was just
Yeah, you can hear it.
fanatic about
You can hear
Bud.
Yeah.
Bud cast a spell.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I've talked to Sonny about that. show you that stuff sometime. He talks about Bud. You know, Sonny's first real session. Well, Sonny made a date with JJ, but his first major session was with Bud. The session where he did Bouncing with Bud.
Yes.
Fats.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonny said that Sonny tells a story about how he played a wrong note. He said Bud shot him a look. Mm-hmm. He said, and I never played that note wrong.
No, no. That's interesting. I used to love to hear Jackie McLean tell stories about Bud because, you know, for a while, you know, Jackie was close with Bud's mother or something like that. And she would charge, would put Bud sometimes in Jackie's charge, so to speak, and Jackie would kind of, you know, take care of him if he had to go somewhere and hang out or whatever. And he just had wonderful stories about hanging out with Bud. And personally, I think Bud was one of the greatest improvisers of all time. And if he had any peers, there weren't many in the whole history of this music, as far as I'm concerned. As a melodic improviser, at his best, he was probably without peer. Maybe one or two.
Yeah. And also, at the time he first emerged, his concept was different.
Absolutely.
You know, a unique concept.
And I also think it's been overstated too about his style of vocabulary being derivative from Charlie Parker. I think there's that, undoubtedly. But Bud was very much his own man, his own thinker, his own creative process. And I think a real visionary.